To understand the Trump administration's approach to Ukraine, some context is needed. US military aid has been paused, President Zelensky's been told he isn't ready for peace, and J.D. Vance says this on Ukraine rebuilding.
You're not going to do that if you come to the Oval Office, insult the president, and refuse to follow his plan for peace.
The hostility and frustration is palpable, and it hasn't come out of the blue. In 2019, during his first term, Donald Trump was impeached in connection with a phone call with President Zelensky. Trump was accused of trying to pressure Zelensky into investigating Hunter Biden, the son of Trump's rival, Joe Biden. Trump also suggested that when vice president, Joe Biden intervened to stop Hunter being investigated for corruption in Ukraine. There's no evidence Joe Biden did this. Trump described the call to Zelensky as perfect, and he'd go on the attack. During the impeachment process, Trump's defense referenced claims that Ukraine had intervened in the 2016 US presidential election. One White House Russia expert called this a fictional narrative. A former US envoy testified that Trump called Ukraine a corrupt country full of terrible people. And the president himself called his impeachment a hoax. In early 2020, he was acquitted by senators. Months later, though, he lost the presidential election to Joe Biden, a defeat he raged against and never accepted. And while Trump was out of office, in 2022, Putin launched his full-scale invasion of Ukraine. The West sent weapons and sanctioned Russia, but there was skepticism among Trump supporters. J.D. Vance said, "I don't really care what happens to Ukraine one way or the other." President Biden saw it differently. In 3 years, US aid to Ukraine would total over $120 billion. And last year, Trump's irritation with Zelensky and the aid was clear.
He just left 4 days ago with $60 billion, and he gets home and he announces that he needs another $60 billion, else it never ends.
Ukraine had become a lightning rod for those who believed the US was getting a bad deal from Europe. This January, once more, Trump criticized members of the Western military alliance NATO. "We're protecting them, they're not protecting us," he said. European leaders have acknowledged they need to spend more, though NATO's commitment to collective defense has only been triggered once, on behalf of the US, after the 9/11 attacks. Bear that in mind when listening to J.D. Vance this week.
The very best security guarantee is to give Americans economic upside in the future of Ukraine. That is a way better security guarantee than 20,000 troops from some random country that hasn't fought a war in 30 or 40 years.
In the UK, opposition politicians accused the vice president of disrespecting British forces. Mr. Vance has now denied he meant France and the UK, though they are the only countries talking of deploying troops. But beyond any diplomatic tensions, to the Trump administration, Ukraine is a chance for a reset. The commentator, Basia Ungasagan, writes, "What many Americans saw in the Oval Office was an American president, the first in my lifetime, defending the abused American taxpayer from an ongoing international fleecing, not just of the past 3 years, but for the entire post-war order." All of this is the context to the last few days. And at the White House last week, there was a clue of what was to come.
He's all dressed up today.
Then, inside, there was this from a conservative cable network.
Do you own a suit?
Not everyone wears a suit in the Oval Office. Maybe this was about something else, about a perceived lack of respect or gratitude.
Have you said thank you once?
J.D. Vance said he was talking about that meeting in particular. He had another issue too.
You went to Pennsylvania and campaigned for the opposition in October.
This references a visit to a munitions factory. President Zelensky was accompanied by local lawmakers who were Democrats. But it was in September, not October, and President Zelensky wasn't campaigning for the Democrats. He did, though, say this.
To you and for your work, thank you so much.
Mr. Zelensky has thanked America many times. Maybe, for Donald Trump and his supporters, thank you isn't enough.
I want them to give us something for all of the money that we put up.
The something Mr. Trump wants is Ukraine's minerals. But for now, US aid has been paused, and amongst Trump supporters, another theme is being promoted. Former Fox News host Tucker Carlson has spoken at Trump rallies, and this week he claimed the Ukrainians sold huge quantities of American weapons on the international black market. No available evidence supports this, but claims of corruption are not new, from pro-Putin and pro-Trump sources. In 2023, a website falsely claimed Zelensky had purchased 2 luxury yachts with US aid money. Trump supporter Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene shared the claim. And J.D. Vance made reference too, saying there are people who would cut Social Security, throw our grandparents into poverty. Why? So that one of Zelensky's ministers can buy a bigger yacht. The yacht claims are false, but J.D. Vance promoted them, and by 2024, he was Trump's running mate. Now they're in power, and the war is into its fourth year. Trump says he wants it to end to save money and to save lives. But his approach to Ukraine, to Zelensky, and to Europe shows this is about much more than that too.